Hello everybody, welcome back to PhotoRec.tv. I'm Toby, and a few weeks ago I released a review video on the Sony a7R5, and I talked a little bit about customization of that camera, and I realized that I haven't spent time talking about the broader customization of Sony cameras. So I'm going to correct that with this video, and I'm going to show you a cool feature that when I share it with other Sony photographers on our workshops, they are blown away that this is an option and it's buried in the camera system. Let's get started. This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Many of you watching this are photographers. Squarespace understands photographers. The other day I was putting together a gallery of my favorite images from my Katmai workshop, and I wanted this nice, clean, square grid. Squarespace made it so easy to display the portion of the image I wanted shown in that 1:1 aspect ratio. It's smart. You can try Squarespace out for free today. No credit card required for 14 days at squarespace.com/PhotoRecTV. That'll also save you 10% when you do go to buy. All right, so I'm using the Sony A1, but this customization is going to apply to many of the modern Sony mirrorless cameras, with of course some slight changes in button placement. And I want to get right to that feature that I was talking about in the opening. It's referred to as AF in focus magnification. This feature allows you to magnify the live view significantly. No big deal, right? But it also allows you to focus while magnified. And this gives you excellent clarity and really nice feedback on whether or not your subject truly is in focus. I should say real-time feedback. Now, a couple of caveats. It only works when you're in AFS mode, and it's not something that I'm going to recommend for moving subjects anyway. It's on the slower side. And Sony, in fact, recommends that you have your camera on a tripod when using this feature. Now, if you're steady, and depending on the lens length you're using, you don't really need a tripod, but it does help. So in the Sony A1, I'm going to dive into the menu system, and I'm going to go to the AF/MF section. And this is on the A1, but I'm going to put links to the docs below that show you how to enable this in other Sony cameras. I'm going to go to Focus Assistant and over to AF and Focus Mag. Turn it on. That's what I've got here. And then right above that, you have the ability to set the initial focus magnification to 1x or 4.2x. This value actually is going to depend on your camera. I choose 4.2. What this means is when you push the button, you're going to jump to that specified magnification. So I'm pressing the button I've assigned it to. We'll talk more about that. And it's jumped to 4.2x. Press it again, and it will further magnify. Pressing it one more time brings you back to 1. It works really, really nicely. So when we enable it, we have a small crosshairs on the screen, and we can move that crosshair around using the joystick or the touch panel on the back, the touchpad, the LCD, and that allows you to very precisely maneuver this to where you want and then use focus to nail your subject. Now, in addition to turning it on, you need to assign it a button. And if you're paying attention, I have assigned it the C1 button. Let me show you how you do that. So I'm going to go to the customization screen, which we're going to spend a lot of time on in this video. Operation Customize, Photo Custom Key Settings, and I'm going to go to page 3. And the button is listed as 3, but it is Custom Button 1 right here on the top of the camera. And again, pressing that one time jumps you to 4.2x if that's what you set. 2 times an additional magnification, and then you can use the joystick to move that around. Again, only works during AFS. And honestly, this is really one of the few reasons I still use AFS from time to time. I find myself using continuous autofocus in these Sony mirrorless cameras, and it works really, really well. But when I want this precise magnification, I'll move back to AFS, and I'll use that C1 to magnify. It's just a really nice way to know if your subject is in focus. And when you're focusing on a very small target, it really does use those tiny crosshairs to allow you to be very precise, threading the needle, so to speak. And again, I'll link to the help documents below to enable this feature in a variety of Sony cameras. Now, continuing the button customization tour, C2 will bring up your focus area. I use this to switch between focus areas, usually switching between your spot, medium, or small, and zone. That's what I'm typically finding myself using in this camera. C3 is a quick access to display my menu setting. Now, if I was using the new Sony a7R5, I'd set it to that new menu system, which is very nice. I am experimenting, might switch this C3 button to bright monitoring, which significantly boosts the brightness of the exposure in darker environments. It's helpful for composition and focusing, especially for astrophotography. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Now, C4, that switches into APS-C mode, which truthfully, I don't use that often in photos, but I do use it fairly often in video mode, and I found that sometimes I'd switch back from photos and I'd be stuck in APS-C mode. So I needed that button to switch it off, and C4 does that for me very nicely. That is the trash button, another way to think of that button. The control wheel on the back, I have left alone, except for pressing down on the bottom allows me to switch the brightness of the LCD. I'll often turn this down when shooting at night, and having a quick way to dim the screen is very nice. Now, this might seem counterintuitive to that bright monitoring I just mentioned, but bright monitoring is about actually brightening your exposure temporarily so that you can see better for composition. And this is about dimming your screen so you don't destroy your night vision and you avoid annoying everybody around you when shooting at night. Now, you can assign each side of the control wheel to separate functions, but I leave them not set because I find it really just too easy to start changing something when you don't want to or plan to. I just keep the ISO press to the right and then change the wheel. I press up on the wheel for cycling through the different display options as it's labeled. I'd love to hear if you found anything to assign the wheel to or the center button as well. I think could be assigned to something. Leave that as a comment if you found something that works really well for you. I'd love to hear about it. I'd also love if you took a minute to like this video. It really does help the algorithm. Now, I do use back button focus on my cameras, so my shutter button doesn't do focus. My AF on does. The AF on does focus. The AEL does focus and tracking both. Another button back here to talk about is the record button. I have that set to not set. Let's take a quick look at that. There's the AF on and on. AF on is on, and record button, not set. I have that set to not set so that I don't accidentally hit to start recording when I'm in photo mode. Now, the last button I want to share with you is the button you find on the side of some lenses. So that's going to be at the bottom of the customization. They call it the focus hold button. I have this set for a memory recall for birds in flight, kind of a quick action button. I love this Sony feature. I find it so much better than using 3, 2, 1 on the dial or 1, 2, 3 on the dial. I've got a separate video that shows how to set this up. I'll link to that right down below. You don't actually need to have a lens with the focus hold button on it. You could assign it to some other button like the movie button if you wanted it. That's it for photo mode. Let's switch into video mode and talk a little bit about how I have this set up. Honestly, most things are the same, but the record button now actually does start recording. The control wheel does ISO without having to press the ISO side first. I find this works very well for me. I'm shooting videos in a more deliberate, carefully controlled environment. I'm not going to be bumping that wheel, and it allows a quick and easy way to change the exposure without changing the shutter speed or the aperture, and that works well for me. C1 magnifies to check focus. It's not a zoom, it's magnification. C2, however, activates the clear zoom feature. I've got a separate video about this. It is also awesome. I've linked that video down below. It's a great way to get more reach in some video modes with no quality loss. And you just then use the little joystick at the back to zoom between 1x and 1.5x. And then, as I mentioned, you also have APS-C mode, so you can get even more reach in some video modes. Now, let's switch back to photos and move into the function menu. That is your shortcuts across the bottom that give you access to a bunch of features. You can customize these for photo and video as well. In photo mode, I've got bracket timer in the top left corner, and then I move over to self-timer type. This is actually the drive mode. If I'm in any mode on the A1, because you have a drive mode wheel, that isn't the self-timer, I can't do anything with this mode. It tells me to use the dial. But once I switch into the self-timer mode, I can now go into function and change the self-timer type, either the length of it or the length plus the number of shots that I want. That's nice. Next, I've got pixel shift. That's that multi-shooting where it combines a bunch of shots. Actually, sorry. It takes a bunch of shots and then in the computer, you combine them. I shoot a handful of pixel shift images per trip, religiously combine them, and then rarely do anything with them. So I'm thinking about taking it off. But I have one gorgeous pixel shift pano. It is an epic print, literally. It's Bay Photos epic print, which means 600 DPI. It's downtown Seattle skyline. It's printed 30 by 60. The detail in it is truly stunning. But that's just one picture. Anyway, let's move on. Next is face and eye subjects. I often am switching back and forth depending on what my subject is because that eye autofocus is so good. I love it. I could also assign this to a button, and I sometimes have on trips, but right now it's sitting on the function menu. Next up is interval shooting. Sure, you use this for time-lapse, but if you're not shooting time-lapse, you can also use it for group photos. In fact, I probably use it more often for group photos. What am I talking about? Set the interval to 1 or 2 seconds, set 50, set 100 images, walk over to your family or your group that you're taking a picture with and enjoy. None of that 10-second timer running. Did it get a good picture? Did everybody have their eyes open? No, you're going to get 50 pictures and you can quickly find the one that works for you. You can do a bunch of serious, nice, smiley ones. Then you can do a bunch of fun, goofy ones. Then you can put that all together in kind of a fun animation. You have so many more options when you use the interval timer for your group or family photos, so you should start doing that. Next thing on that list is the shutter type. In the A1, I have that set to electronic most of the time. Moving on, we got auto white balance. I'm shooting in RAW, so I am using white balance in auto mode usually, but occasionally I'll switch it. Mostly, not because it matters in RAW, but because it's nicer to have that feedback of what it's going to look like after I edit it. Great example is Alaska last month, lots of blue snow. Shooting and changing your white balance just a little bit, warm it up. That's how I post-process those images, so it's nice to see them on the back of the camera, how they're going to look once I edit them. And that's related to the next section of Creative Look. Usually this is on standard, but occasionally I'll switch it to Vivid. Gives that punchier look, and that gives you that feedback again in camera that's going to be closer to what the finished edit will look like. Next is an easy way to turn steady shot on or off if you don't have it as a switch on the lens. Next is tracking sensitivity. You can go from a locked on, depending on your subject, to a much more responsive where it's going to jump around and try to find different subjects quickly. Zebra displays. This is highlights in the brighter or the overexposed areas. I've got that set to a custom 108 plus. And when I want to shoot with the camera completely silent, I have my last setting right here, and I find that's very nice. Sometimes I like the shutter still, but I don't want the beep, beep, beep of the self-timer, and I just find the audio signal option right there to work really, really well. As mentioned, this video is brought to you by Squarespace. I moved my own site, photorec.tv, to Squarespace about 5 years ago, and I have been so happy. It was incredibly easy to build a beautiful website using their gorgeous starting galleries and templates. Anytime I get stuck or need help, they have 24/7 customer support. And the amount of additional tools that now have been added into Squarespace is fantastic. A great e-commerce system that is incredibly simple to set up, an appointment scheduling system or booking system, along with just launched the new asset library that makes it super easy to share images across your brand, keeping a very beautiful, consistent look. As I said, you can try Squarespace for free for 14 days, no credit card required. Start at squarespace.com/photorectv to save 10% off your first purchase. Thanks, Squarespace. Now we switch into video mode and hit function again, and we've got a whole host of different options. First up is the audio levels, very quick way to change that. We have the exposure mode, which I leave in manual most of the time. When I'm shooting in S&Q, I can quickly change the frame rate for my slow-mo options. I've got face priority and multi-metering, which just simply means my face will be exposed nicely if I'm standing in front of the camera. I have that turned on, along with subject shift sensitivity, usually set to locked on if I'm in front of the camera. Then we have those zebras. Here you can see that they're set to 108 plus. This is under the C2 custom option. I can't remember what YouTuber shared this specific setting. It might not even been YouTuber. It might just been, I might have read it somewhere. I've been very happy with this setting. I like it a lot. White balance, I am much more likely to set white balance in video. I lock it onto a temperature that looks good for the scene so that the camera's not shifting partway through the video and making it much harder for me to edit. Focus peaking, I could probably take this one off too. I'm using it less and less often. The autofocus is great, and the peaking I find can sometimes exaggerate what's in focus. So we're just going to move right on and talk about focus area because my C2 button is assigned something else, so I needed it here on the function. Back into that steady shot option. And then AF transition speed, how quickly, when you choose a new point to focus, will the focus system move through that? And I usually leave that in the middle, but depending on my subject's wildlife, I might choose a little bit faster. Something else that's a little bit more still life, I might choose to look a little slower and be a little more cinematic. In the last setting, those audio signals again. Now in playback mode, I've got two custom button settings. C1 is used for playback magnification. So if I hit playback, I'm looking at a recent image I shot, I can press C1 and it magnifies to that focus point. That's another feature within the Sony cameras. I really like this. This means that this one button across all of the different modes in the camera is my magnification button. I like that kind of muscle memory there. Works well for me. Now, a quick tip. An unasked for tip, people, when you are reviewing your images, and I'm not telling you to chimp on every image out there, but when you're reviewing your images, please use the viewfinder. I mean, sure, everyone thinks that you're taking pictures of the ground when you do that, but that viewfinder is such a high resolution, way more than your LCD. It's also distraction free. It's shielded from the sun, especially if you add one of these extra cushy, cheap, or I should say, affordable aftermarket viewfinder hoods. So just keep that in mind. I look through that. Press that magnification button, and it is such nice feedback of how well this has worked for me. Now moving on, in playback, C3 in the top left corner allows me to set a star rating for my pictures. I find this a great way to quickly mark favorites out in the field, and after importing, I can then find them and filter them so quickly. A single press gives it a 1 star. Each additional press adds a star to it until you get up to 5 stars, and pressing it again reverts it or resets it to 0 stars. And again, Lightroom sees these star edits. It works very, very nicely. That's it. I'd love to know what your favorite customization feature is in your Sony camera, and do you use that AF and focus magnification or that one button memory recall? You can drop those as a comment right down below, and I'd love it also if you took a second to like this video. I did ask you that already. I'm sorry, but it really does help this channel, and of course, if you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.